Good morning, I'm Lottie, Rayner, and this is the Newsroom. On today's show, we have the headlines with myself, followed by a very interesting discussion with Talin and Edd about budget and Brexit, followed by the lovely Ross throwing himself into American football, and finishing off with Jemima taking us through Gin Socks event. That's all coming up on the Newsroom. This week, Philip Hammond has released his third budget as Chancellor. Some of the most notable points include an additional £500 million for Brexit preparations, an additional £500 million for government housing, and £400 million extra for schools. He will also be imposing a new tax on the manufacturing and import of plastic packaging of less than 30% recyclable materials. Exeter's medical students have raised £10,000 for a town in Ethiopia. This money will enable access to free, clean water for 12,000 locals who have previously been drinking from a dirty and contaminated lake. The Exeter students from the Trutt campus in Cornwall have worked with the locals since 2014, carrying out projects such as these a few times a year. Exeter City Council have approved plans for a new student flats development containing 1,000 bedrooms. The work will commence in the new year, which means the flats will be ready for students in the year 2020. This will be a new option for prospective students. This year marks the 100th anniversary since women got the vote. Exeter chose to celebrate this by holding a Women of the World festival, including workshops, activities, performances and discussions held at various locations around Exeter. The event was organised by the eponymous foundation, who aim to celebrate women's achievements whilst also looking at the obstacles that stand in their way. Devon will be launching a new Street League style event next year. The event will include BMX freestyle, scootering and skateboarding. The event aims to bring together those sports that are thriving at street level and bring them into a community-style Grand Prix event. That's everything from me on the headlines. Next up, we have Talin and Edd discussing budget and Brexit.
You're watching XTV's The Newsroom. I'm Edd Church and we're with Talin. This is the politics section of the show. We're going to be talking a little bit about the recent headlines and happenings that have been going on around the country. So I suppose first things first, we'll talk about the sort of headline news of this week. Yesterday, Philip Hammond released his budget on a Monday to shock of many. What sort of the main headline things that came out of that? What should we be talking about first of all?
So, aside from talking about the fact that it happened on a Monday, which
it's fascinating, frankly.
Very exciting for loads of people in Westminster yesterday.
Who knows why?
The really big thing that we should be looking at this budget is the fact that the rhetoric surrounding it has been very positive and has moved away from the fact of austerity and from trying to make savings. Philip Hammond has really made an effort to show that this is the end of austerity and that spending will be continuing now from this budget. And what's been quite interesting, though, is that Philip Hammond has said that the deficit will be going down every year from this year. However, there have been some discrepancies over this. And so the Office for Budget Responsibility has come out and said, no, this actually isn't the case. This year, due to the budget measures that Philip Hammond has put in, the deficit will actually increase by £1.1 billion, next year by £10.9 billion, and therefore this will then lead to a rise of £23.2 billion in the year of 2023 to 24. So it's quite interesting to see the two difference of opinions.
That's quite a significant change that they're predicting as well. Yeah. Like obviously the OBR has had some criticism for being almost consistently wrong. Like they've basically everything they predict has been incorrect. When they predict it's going to be a reduction is an increase, and vice versa. Should we really pay attention to what they're saying based on this? What do you think about that?
It's quite interesting you asked this question because they were actually asked it on a budget show yesterday, and the representative said, "Well, no, you shouldn't trust us," which is quite a funny answer to give. In my opinion is they are the main regulator that are giving us information and they are trusted. At the end of the day, whether their information is consistently wrong or not, they are just giving us a level of which we can make our own judgments by, and we should just take it with a pinch of salt.
If nothing else, it's scrutiny, yeah. I suppose another key thing about what you said to start with there is Philip Hammond's idea of a change of ideology almost, trying to do some PR work for the Conservative Party almost, trying to move them away from this image of being the party of austerity and of cuts. It's been one of the main criticisms that anyone can give about the Conservative Party is that are there any specific policies that they've put in that relate to this? Any particular key spending areas that that could be evidence of this change?
Yeah, so I think the electorate has gotten tired of austerity. So as I said earlier, Philip Hammond has decided to start spending. And so one of the areas in which he's doing this is the personal allowance threshold. And this is basically where the amount of money you earn before your tax is increased. And this will be increasing in April 2019 from £11,850 to £12,500.
Just in time for Brexit, yeah.
Just in time for Brexit, so in April 2019, as we mentioned. Also, something that's increased is the national living wage, and that will be increasing by 4.9%. So in numbers terms, £7.83 to £8.21 an hour. So in April 2019.
So what is to unpack some of these numbers? You know, what do they actually mean? So we'll take the minimum wage one to start with.
Yeah.
You know, what does that actually mean? Is that, you know, to someone who might be on, you know, minimum wage, living wage, what does that actually mean for them?
So it means that they will be receiving more money, and if we're looking at inflation, they'll be receiving more money than inflation. So they will have money in their pocket to
spend. So keep up with the amount that stuff they have to spend on will increase, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting. So obviously about the NHS is another key thing that's come out of this. You know, what's been said about the NHS, it's always a key electorate problem. Obviously, you know, general election right now is a way off, but obviously that's often something that's argued about. You know, what's been said about the NHS in the budget? Yeah,
so we actually mentioned this on the last newsroom because the Conservative Party said that they would be spending £23 billion over the next few years on the NHS. So I was curious to see what Philip Hammond would mention about it in the budget. One of the ideas that we were talking about in the last newsroom was, would they be using income tax revenues to fund the increase in spending? Philip Hammond said this will not be the case. However, he has not said how he'll be making certain spends. And of those spends, he will be giving £2 billion to mental health, and he will be giving £700 million to councils to help spend money on caring for the elderly and disabled.
Yeah, so moving on from very money stuff, we'll move on to everyone's favourite topic, you know, flavour of the last 2.5 years. Brexit, of course, is something that's going to have to be mentioned. Obviously, despite the budget taking up most of the limelight recently, because it, you know, it just came out yesterday, it's quite a big thing. And are there any updates about Brexit, specifically at the Irish border, or anything else that's been going on?
So Theresa May came out last week and she made a big speech and she said that 95% of Brexit negotiation deal is done. Quite funnily, Michel Barnier came out and said, actually, no, it's 90% of the deal has been done. So it's funny to see that there's some quibbling going on there.
Yeah, it's funny, but at the same time quite concerning, because obviously these people are in charge. They're meant to be, you know, responsible for the country's, you know, well-being. You know, is it not a bit of a concern that they're just sat there bickering over what percentage that Brexit's done and not actually, you know, doing the work of, you know, solving issues such as the Irish border?
It is a concern. It's also a concern to see that there's been a communication issue in which one side thinks 90%. I mean, a 5% difference is a lot.
Yeah.
In considering when you think it's only 5%, it's 5 of people's rights, it's 5 of people's money, for example. So the communication issue is a bit concerning.
So what does this 5% mean? What's in it? So obviously we've got Irish border, the human rights, all of that other stuff, you know. So we'll talk specifically Irish border. What's come out recently? So
we talked about this in the last newsroom, in which there was arguments going on about the Irish border, the UK not wanting to instill an Irish a proper border in the Republic of Ireland between Northern Ireland, and the idea of a backstop. Nothing yet has been decided a week on. A week is a long time in politics, but equally this is such a contentious issue that that's part of the 5% that hasn't been agreed. Another thing in that 5%, there's this thing called Geographical Indications, and it's basically they haven't agreed how the trade of services in regard to food, so the trade of goods, in regard to food will be done. So things such as like Greek feta cheese and Parma ham, how will those be transported to the UK? We haven't decided that yet.
So, you know, within the 5%, it's basically just bacon and borders. Is that all we're talking here?
Yeah, exactly that, yes.
So, thank you very much, Talin. That's all we've got time for this segment, this political segment of the newsroom. Thank you very much for watching.
Thank you very much, Talin and Ed, for that insightful look into current affairs. Next up, we have a more sporty section where we're throwing Ross into the deep end of American football.
Thank you, Lottie. We are back this week at the Rubber Crumb to find out all about American football at the university. Let's head over. Today, I'm with the president of American football, Connor Clark. Now, Connor, could you perhaps give us a bit of information to our viewers about what the basics of American football really are?
Yeah, sure. So you got your two sides of the team. You got your offense and your defense. The offense is trying to score points. The defense is trying to stop them. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, fair. And what position do you play? What's your position? Are you on the offensive team?
I play on defense.
Okay.
So I play defensive end.
Okay, and what does that involve? Do you really just try and stop the ball and get?
Yeah, you got to kind of get through the offensive line and stop them being able to pass it or run the ball.
Oh, okay, cool. So obviously at Exeter is quite rugby based. Just the country in general, England's quite rugby based. So what is the American football culture like at Exeter? Is it quite international? You got a lot of international players.
We get quite a mix, to be fair.
Okay.
We get like a lot of international students, and then we also have students from home and stuff as well. We get quite a few from America or Canada as well. They like to come over.
Are they quite good usually?
Yeah, usually some of our better players.
I can imagine, yeah. Oh, that's great. Oh, that's really cool. So, in terms of like your general stuff, like you get up to during the weeks, like in terms of like training and like your schedule and stuff like that, the social aspect, just for people that are interested, watching this, how can they? What's it really about? What do you guys up to?
So we train 2 contact sessions a week, one on a Wednesday, one on a Sunday. We then have like a player-led Saturday session.
Okay.
And then throughout the rest of the week, all our players go into the gym like all the time.
Oh,
Stuff like that. We have group sessions in the gym to work on certain things. But, yeah.
Cool. Right. Well, I'm dreading to say this, but I think it's time to get into the practice session. Come on!
That was shit! There's another one! There's another one!
Come on! There we go!
Keep going, you got the rest of the field.
Grady, what are you playing?
Oh, so there's another one. Let's go, let's go.
There we go!
There we go!
Oh.
Oh, that was close. There you go, there you go. Oh. Hey, nice, nice. Set, huh. Go, 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 go. Oh. Nice, nice. Switch.
No! Set, hop!
There you go, there you go, there you go, there you go. Ah.
So this has been us at American Football. Thank you so much for having me here, guys. It's been very interesting, a bit painful, but got through it all right. Yeah, this is for those interested, this is a mixed gender sport, so there's a mixture of men and women in the team. Their first game is away at Bath, so good luck to the Demons then. And back to you in the studio, Lottie. Demons on me. Demons on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Demons!
Thank you, Ross. I hope that doesn't hurt too much. Next up, we have the lovely Jem, who's taking us around Gin Sock's Sip Smith tasting event.
Good evening, my name's Jemima, reporting for XTV's The Newsroom. Tonight we're with the Gin Sock at their Sip Smith's tasting event. I'm here with President Corey. So Corey, can you tell us a little bit more about the society itself?
So effectively, Gin Society, society for everyone who loves gin. So we're a very new society, starting properly this year. Still quite small, but growing quite rapidly. It's a very chilled event. Most of our events will be very much like this, just over a G&T, chatting, meeting some new people, which is always nice. So obviously discounts, every student has a good discount, a good bargain. So tonight obviously we've got £6 G&Ts, 20% off everything else behind the bar, free gin at the back. Free gin's always nice. And yeah, so most of our events, to every other event maybe, there'll be a giveaway, a raffle. So 2 weeks ago, in our first event, we had a bottle of Hayman's just raffled off. So a bottle of Salcombe actually raffled off. So free bottle to whoever is actually at the event. Again, more free gin, cheap alcohol. Why not?
Okay, that's wonderful. So can you tell us a little bit more about what's happening at your event this evening?
So this event is very specific to Sip Smith. So So quite a big brand. They've got 5 gins on offer, and they've brought all 5 actually tonight to try and to free. So they've got a whole selection going, and then quite a few bottles of them behind the bar. So if you want to actually have a longer drink with the tonic, then you've got that as well. And then there's, like I said, 20% off everything else. If you really kind of want to go a bit more quirky, because obviously in Crockett's being the main gin bar in Exeter, there's 120 odd gins behind the bar. So if you want to go a little bit quirky and find something else, then it's always an option as well.
That's wonderful. So can you tell us how anybody can get involved in this society for those watching?
So obviously, so we go through Fixer, is our main thing. So all our events, all our membership as well, is through Fixer. So on our Facebook page, so Exeter Gin Society, there's a little section called Tickets and Membership. And straight on there, £7 membership, and that gets you access to all the events, all of them. I think one of our next events will probably be a non-members event as well. So we're going to try and get, so basically like a double ticket, so you buy a ticket and you can bring a friend. So there'll be lots of people who are obviously non-members of the event to try it out and explore, because obviously being a new society, you don't want to just give away your money for no reason, so why not just get everyone, let them know what they're missing out on effectively. So it's cheap gin, free gin. The main thing.
Okay, that's wonderful. So thank you to Ginsock and Corey for talking to XTV The Newsroom about their new society. This is Jemima Cooper. Thank you.
Thank you, Jemima, for exploring Ginsock for us. If you'd like any more information on today's show, please see the relevant links in today's description. That's everything here on The Newsroom. Please join us in 2 weeks' time for another episode. I've been Lottie Rayner, and you've been watching The Newsroom.